I now call the East Lyme Zoning Commission regular meeting of February 6th, 2025 to order at 7:30 p.m. Could we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I understand Mr. Peck cannot be here tonight. Is Ms. Susko here? Alternate? No? Ms. Uhas, would you sit, please? Thank you. Also, Ms. Markovitz is not here tonight. Mr. Liska, could you sit? Thank you. Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Ms. Kalal?
Yes.
Ms. Jet Harris?
Here.
And then Mr. Mahalan's here. Ms. LaRocco? Is Ms. Hardy with us yet? No? Okay, well, we had a public hearing tonight, but the application has been withdrawn. So we will go directly to the regular meeting, which is the application of Boats Incorporated for Coastal Area Management, CAM, for site plan review for tear down and rebuild of proposed 4,146 square foot building for property located at 129-1 Main Street, Assessor Map 12.1, Lot 54. And Ms. Kalal, would you like to read the memo?
Absolutely. Memo to East Lyme Zoning Commission from William Mulholland, zoning official, read Coastal Area Management CAM review of 129-1 Main Street, Niantic, dated February 6th, 2025. As the Commission is aware, a coastal site plan reviews are a state-mandated program authorized in Chapter 444 of the Connecticut General Statutes. This statute delegates legal authority to zoning commissions to adopt regulations and regulate activities not otherwise exempted occurring above the CJL or coastal jurisdiction line as identified by the Connecticut Deep and within the defined coastal boundary of their respective communities to protect coastal resources and ensure compliance with CAM Act's coastal goals and policies. The Board is charged with the review of coastal site plans and may approve, modify, or deny activities proposed after evaluating the specific site and considering the potential effects, both beneficial and adverse, of the activities on coastal resources and their consistency with the applicable state coastal goals and policies. In acting on a coastal site plan, the Commission must state its findings and reasons for the decision. To approve, the Board must find that the proposed activity is consistent with all applicable coastal policies and standards, and whether or not any potential adverse impacts of the proposed activity on both coastal resources and future water development are acceptable. The Board should consider the characteristics of the site, including the location and condition of on-site coastal resources, if any. The Commission must find, in an approval, that the application is consistent with all the applicable goals and conditions of the Act, and that all reasonable measures to mitigate any adverse impacts of the proposed activity on both coastal resources and future water-dependent activities. In this application, it is proposed to demolish a portion of an existing building and replace it with a new 54 by 75 foot structure to be used for boat repair. Property is located in the CM Commercial Marine Zoning District and houses an existing boat marina. The facility consists of retail boat sales, common dock space, boat repair services, and winter storage. The proposal is essentially a simple building upgrade to provide updated services to boat operators. The applicant's agent is here this evening and will give a presentation. Upon completion of the presentation, the Commission will need to make findings as to whether the application is consistent with all applicable goals and policies of the CAM Act.
Thank you. I believe we have a presentation.
You all set, Mr. Mulholland? I can go right ahead. For the record, Sergio Sherenzio with Sherenzio and Associates, offices at 99 Mechanic Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut. I am a licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut, and the plans and the application that was prepared was done under my responsible charge. We are also the surveyors of record for the property. We've been working with Boats Inc. and the owner here, Scott Leahy, is here, and his associate, Peter Rothman, who I believe is facilities manager. They're both here. If there are any questions, they can, anything that I can't answer, they're here to answer as well. The proposed application, as was stated, was to take down a portion, demolish a portion of the existing structure that is there, that is dedicated for boat repair and maintenance. You can see on the map that I've put up, there's a hatched out area that represents the addition that will be put back up after the portion of that building, I believe a little over 2,000 square feet, will be taken down, and in its place is a building slightly larger. I think it's around 4,000 square feet. Excuse me, the existing portion was 3,000, around 3,000. This one's going to be around 4,000. You can see it's to the it's going to be expanded to, I believe, the westerly portion. The site slopes down to the water. There's actually a significant grade change from behind the building to the front of the building. So this building will be constructed a little bit further into the slope and step back along that portion of the site. The site is within as we know, a coastal management area and also in a flood hazard area. As such, the building's going to be brought up to all required flood code. So that will be an improvement to the site to bring it into compliance, and it'll be a brand new code complying structure. Associated with this work, there's also some tanks. There's a washdown tank. There's some fuel storage, battery storage, and I believe propane tank on the side of the building. That will all be temporarily relocated, as shown on the map. Then that will, after the building is constructed, those will go back, essentially right back in the same location that they are existing. The washdown tank is for when they wash down boats, so that that wash doesn't go into the coastal waters. That is contained, and then it's pumped off site. There's no increase in impervious surface from this proposal. Any of the stormwater that is hitting the impervious surfaces does get caught in a drainage system, and that existing drainage system will be maintained. So we don't anticipate any increased adverse impact from what is there approved and functioning today. The property also has a spill prevention maintenance plan. As indicated, they are working on boats in that facility. Things like fuel and oil and other materials are common in marinas. There is a plan in place, and that plan will continue to be utilized and updated as necessary. But this facility is just replacing one that's antiquated and needs upgrade. So there should be no adverse impact with respect to any hazardous materials, because all of them are handled and stored, and there's a spill prevention plan if there is any catastrophic event in place if something were to happen at this site, same as it's always been. So it's going to be largely functioning to better serve the current population that uses the community here, and also will be an improvement, as it's going to be a state-of-the-art new building and facility. That's about what all I have. I will defer to your zoning official if he's got any commentary
If I may,
or any questions.
Could you briefly run through the coastal resources that are adjacent to the site, just so I can, in my records?
Sure. So the coastal resources, and I will add that we had a coastal biologist, Avizinus Environmental Services, who did provide a report that's included in your package. That goes into greater detail, but I will touch upon which coastal resources that are on-site and adjacent. On-site, we have our general coastal resources, coastal high hazard, which I mentioned is our flood hazard area, and a developed shorefront and shorelands are all on-site at the marina location. Adjacent to our coastal waters, as you know, we're on the on the bay in Niantic River, and there's coastal waters or estuarine embayments, near-shore waters, offshore waters are adjacent to, and shellfish concentration areas are adjacent to. Off-site but within project influence are some rocky shorefronts and beaches and dunes. So as you get further away, and then the rest of the coastal resources are not applicable in this situation. Is that satisfactory?
Yeah, could
Yep.
you also touch on the coastal uses section?
Sure.
I'm aware, but the commission may not be.
Yep.
Just for the record.
So, under applicable coastal uses and activities, the application calls for us to identify all the coastal policies and standards. The proposed activity and project here is just a general development, and I believe it's also a water-dependent use.
Water dependent.
Yeah, so that should be checked off. I think we were missing that.
Yeah.
But the others ones are not applicable along that list. I can read them off if you need to, but.
And may I ask, it's your finding as the applicant's agent, that you're finding if there are no adverse impacts from the proposed activity?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And during construction, I'm going to assume you're going to try to mitigate any adverse impacts on coastal waters and resources by putting up silt fence, et cetera, appropriate as necessary. Is that correct?
Yeah, the area will be, all the area that is part of the limit of disturbance will be surrounded by the appropriate erosion controls. We don't anticipate a lot of disturbance here because we're taking down a building and rebuilding one in its place, but there will be staging, there will be staging areas, and there will be the temporary relocation of some of those tanks, which are identified on the plan. But all of that will be surrounded and protected, so that nothing runs into the coastal features.
And between the building and the developed shorefront, which consists of docks and a bulkhead, there is a paved area that's been existing for a long time, is that correct?
Correct.
So that there shouldn't be any adverse impacts. We'll address that with silt fence and hay bales as needed.
Correct.
Does the commission have any questions?
I do.
I do.
Go ahead.
You go first.
Since this building is being built into the bank, it makes sense to me that there will be an area of bank potentially to fall down. What substance is used as to hold it all up?
So that'll be excavated back to where it needs to be to install the foundation. I don't do structural engineering, but during construction there are a series of things that could be implemented. One could be temporary sheeting, or it's just going to be excavated back at a slope where it will not slough off and fall down. But it would have to either be over excavated or some kind of temporary shoring be put in, typically.
But that's not your department. You
Well,
you don't do that.
It would be part of the construction package when they go to build, and you could put a condition on it if you so choose, that detail be provided to your administrators prior to, if you would like.
Yes.
And let me interrupt. At the time of building, they'll obviously need a building permit, and I will re-review because I've got to sign off as well. The foundation will be, for the new building, will be part holding some of the bank up, and then that will be backfilled in because this is an existing tear down. So we're really replacing that which is there with an improved structure. So our building official will review all of that at that time.
Okay.
Is there any room for native plants to go in there anywhere, Bill, perhaps?
No, it's
Maybe
not
a
an area.
little shrub, a shrub or two?
The-
Native plants.
Not in,
I'd have to speak with my client, but the entire site is pretty well developed. There isn't really
You know,
any,
I like the native plants.
We all
there
do.
isn't much green space. The side street, I think, might have a little bit
about
of
the slope?
vegetation, but
What about the slope? You're gonna figure out something creative with that?
It will probably be backfilled and reestablished as a vertical slope behind the building.
Yeah.
Up against the building.
yeah, there is no,
But what's it gonna be, pavement, wood chips, what typically goes there?
what's behind the building right now? It's pavement? It's all crushed stone? Yeah, it's a crushed stone gravel area.
This is a highly developed site that's been developed for
It-
decades.
It's
I know, but since they're
complete.
tearing it all up, it would be nice if we could add some, and I do have a question about tearing it up. On the application, it says, proposed tear down of a portion of the existing building and rebuild of a proposed 4,146 square foot.
Mhm.
This says a portion is coming down, and then this says it's all coming down. So I'm just confused if we could have some clarity on that.
So, the entire building runs from Main Street all the way up to where this portion of the building is being taken down. Just this area that is in the hatch is going to be coming down and rebuilt in here. But there is more buildings, I think it's on 16,000 square feet of building. That's going to remain, and this is going to be an isolated structure, comes down and then rebuilt.
So you're not putting down any more asphalt that's already there now?
Correct. Yeah, it's all impervious area that we're replacing with roof.
Can't put a tree up somewhere?
There is no, right now there is no landscape area.
I will add, if I may, excuse me, Bill Mulholland zoning.
Thank you, Mr.
zoning
Mahoney.
guy. When we redid the building a few years ago, I would note that in front of the retail sales area for boats and motors, they did some very nice landscaping. And that was scratched out of existing hard pervious surface. It was all blacktop, so we were able to develop a nice little landscape strip. And there is very little area to do anything else in.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Since impervious and pervious surfaces are such a big deal these days, is there any chance we can turn our impervious surface into pervious surfaces?
Our issue is it's an existing facility, it's a portion of a building, it's more of a maintenance thing.
Oh, I was thinking the blacktop in front of it.
Well, it's really not, I mean,
They gotta get
there's 4 or 5 parking spaces in front, and I think we scratched pretty hard to get those when we redid the buildings, and we got some landscaping in next to the sidewalk to soften the look of the building, and they remodeled the building at very substantial cost. I for one think they did a really nice job, and it's a nice addition to the community. It's a water dependent use, it meets all the CAM stuff, and that's what we're looking at today.
The front's very well done.
So really not, and if there was, I probably would have already pushed for it.
I'm just
Something-
checking.
No, ask away.
Jim, you had something?
I do have a question. I noticed in your application you're moving some tanks, and I know you talked about propane tanks, and I mean, for ruptured propane tank, it's not really too much the environment. But is there any other fuel you'll be storing, or tanks you'll be moving, diesel or gas or anything? Because those, if they could be a little bit more of a problem.
Yes, they could. There is an existing, it's gasoline, correct? Yes. And oil as well, and waste oil.
So, a quick question for you. If those tanks have been around for a while, and I know back in the day they were single wall, now they do double wall, but if they've been around for a while, and you empty them, and you move them, and then you fill them, a lot of stress on that. So, talk to me a little bit about that, because you're so close to the water, and gas and oil and things like that can be dangerous. So, help me feel better about moving tanks and then refilling them. You know where I'm going with this.
Now, just one moment. You're going to be putting in new tanks, correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to verify. When I say
fuel and
when I say relocate, I mean they're going to be taking out, but they're going to be replaced with upgraded new tanks.
okay, yeah,
Does that-
that's.
does that answer
I
your-
feel better about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll meet all code requirements, like you said, double wall. Make sure they had secondary containment. those will all be upgraded
Yeah,
with this
you know-
facility.
You know, the reason, excuse me, Jim, the reason for my question is sometimes existing facilities have existing tanks that are grandfathered in, and that was a line of my question, just a
Yep.
concern for something that might be a little bit older.
Yeah, and actually, the propane tanks are going to be reduced to 2 cans in the back,
Yeah,
right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I saw that.
Three now. Those will be relocated actually further away from the coastal feature in the back of the building because the fuel source is going to be different. They don't have to rely on propane as much.
Yeah.
So it's just, I know it's a small carrot, but it's moving those tanks further away. But the gas and the oil will be put back with updated
Yeah,
containment.
yeah, okay, yeah, thank you for that. I
Jim, if I
appreciate
may.
Thank you.
Bill Mulholland, zoning guy. The building official and fire marshal at the time of permitting will re-review all of that, and they will supervise those kind of activities to make sure they're compliant with their codes.
it. Yeah,
Which are
yeah,
substantial,
thanks.
so that will be done.
Jim Liska zoning, thank you.
If there are no other questions, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the application of Boats Inc. for coastal area management for site plan review for tear down and rebuild a proposed 4146 square foot building for property located at 129-1 Main Street, assessor map, etc. Reasons: applicant is consistent with all applicable goals and conditions of the CAM Act, and the applicant has taken all reasonable measures to mitigate any adverse impact of the proposed activity on both coastal resources and future water-dependent uses.
Is,
Second?
all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your time
Thank
and
you.
your thoughtful comments. Thank you.
Yeah, you do a great job, thank you.
Okay, next was to be the application of Jeffrey McNamara, however, that was withdrawn.
I would just note, Madam Chair, that that will be resubmitted in the near future. They have some wetlands issues to deal with.
Sounds good. Did everyone have a time to read the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve them?
We approve the minutes?
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, minutes are approved. Subcommittee reports. I understand Mr. Peck was ready tonight, but unfortunately he could not come because
And
he's,
Mr. Peck is ready tonight, but since he's not
Here,
here, I would
well-
ask to pass.
yeah, we'll wait till next time. So we have an update on the subcommittee RU 8040 redistricting. Do you all have anything tonight?
Yes, we do. I want to say first off that something that I realized after the meeting, this information that was in the graph stuff that I gave and submitted to go into the packet last time, it's well number 5. It looks like it's number 6, like because they're in the order, but it's not. It's well number 5. It's the one that's pristine. It's like it has zero contamination at all.
That's the one furthest north?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's the one that's furthest north, which kind of sparked this whole organization of the subcommittee, is because we want to redistrict the north end of town. And the reason being is because the stuff that we gave, the information that Nancy and myself, who were on the subcommittee, we gave a lot of information. A lot of it is from the POCD, the Natural Conservation Group that's right here in East Lyme. We went over the matrix of the POCD. All the evidence points to the same thing. As zoning commissioners, we have a duty and a responsibility to the public, especially when it comes to drinking water, all the things that we have jurisdiction over. But this being the only clean well that's in the town, and there's a bunch of water because we're so close to the ocean, it's really our duty to really, take it, very seriously and read all the information. There is a lot of information that covers this. A lot of the recommendations that I didn't talk about at the last meeting were recommendations from the POCD to consider adopting zoning regulations requiring that all lots contain a minimum area of buildable land to further protect sensitive environmental areas. Another one too that we didn't talk about last time, because there's so much information, was the protection of clean water resources, and that's all of our natural resources that happen to exist in East Lyme, and there's a lot of them. And my thing is, because of the data that supports it, which, you know, hopefully we'll get a public hearing, and then let the experts give their displays and their information, because they are the experts in this. You know, we can read all this stuff and everything else like that, which is good, because, you know, it kind of brings awareness to our community and to this commission. If we don't do something now, 5 years or 10 years from now, it's going to be too late. Right now, everyone has stated, Save the River, Save the Hills, all these wonderful committees and commissions that are located in East Lyme, even the state of Connecticut, they also have information too. It all points to one thing. We're at a tipping moment. If we don't do something now to at least try, then by the time we try to do something, it's going to be too late. So we want to make sure that East Lyme has clean, potable drinking water, and not only that it's quality drinking water, but the quantity of it. And, you know, we want to make sure that we keep on top of that. And the state of Connecticut, under general statutes, has given the zoning commission a lot more jurisdiction over that. And this is a thing to aim to exercise our legal authority to be able to do something like rezoning. So before I read the proposed text amendment change that we want to do, because I think we've given a lot of information, and we've provided maps and everything else of what area it's going to actually encompass. And I think that it's you know, and also too in the POCD and also too Connecticut state statute zoning regulations, it talks about protecting your environmental, agricultural districts. And this will also take care of that, and it will also take care of the water situation to further help protect it up in that north end of town. And it's not going to encompass the whole north end of town, but a good portion of it. And so I think that, you know, anything that we do, any steps that we take in that direction is going to only help the town of East Lyme and the water situation. And we want to make sure that we're protecting all of our natural resources. Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, so in our packet is a memo to the zoning commission that Mr. Mulholland helped us write. We essentially, what we want to do is take what used to be RU 80, which is the white portion of the map, and turn it into RU 200, or 5-acre zoning. Okay, now, Mr. Foley asked last meeting how we came up with the 5 acres. And one of your, there's tons of papers in your packet. The first one talks about establishing a minimum lot size of 5 acres. And that is dated June 17th, 1999. So essentially, I'm trying to summarize what has been 200 hours of research. That's the biggie on that page. There's another memo from Gary Geschel to William Mulholland to evaluate options for reducing future impact on water and soil resources, particularly in the north end of town, where large remaining tracts of undeveloped land. Consider adjusting agricultural regs to better encourage and support the preservation of agricultural land. If you look at the maps in the POCD, imagine that the north end of town is sort of like an M. It starts low on the eastern border, western border, which is the old Lyme side, comes a little hillier, drops down around the middle of the town, goes back up again, and then drops down towards the Nyack River. So what happens geologically is all the water that's at the north end of the town ends up in the south end of town. What is really important is that the amount of impervious surfaces has a huge impact on the volume and quality of water that comes south from the north end. In other words, the more impervious surfaces you have, the last colored page, the less good clean water you get in the end. So the point of this redistricting is to keep as much impervious surfaces out as possible. We do realize that habitat fragmentation does happen. If I had my druthers, we'd go to 10 or 20 acre rezoning, but you know, you got to get what you can. There's a list of sources if you need more reading before you go to bed. The biggest resource here is Impervious Surfaces and Water Quality, a review of current literature and its implication for watershed planning. And that's a real snoozer, so I kind of summarized it for you to make it easy.
Thank you.
Basically, it says the more forest and agricultural lands you have, the better the filtration happens to filter out any impurities, such as salt, fertilizers, anything that shouldn't be there. If we need further things to read, check out the POCD, Chapter 2, number 2.4, 2.71, Chapter 6, 6.5.1. Page 45 is the aquifer maps, and 6.7.1 are the recommendations. Would you like me to read those all to you, or you want to just
Is that
read
in
it?
here?
No, it's in the POCD.
The POCD, if you
Yeah.
need it.
I can give you the page numbers too. So basically with the POCD, it has everything in it that's a recommendation. Also too with the Natural Resource Commission, which is a huge commission here in East Lyme that's been around for quite a long time actually. They have like experts there, and that's the whole reason of having a public hearing is to get the experts here so they can answer the questions further because we don't know them and we can ask them. And that is the reason why I believe that a public hearing would be very beneficial for the town of East Lyme, especially when it comes to this very important issue of potable water quality and quantity, and also to protect the resources. It's not just the aquifer; it's all the bodies of water that are here, and there's quite a bit of them which feed out down into the Niantic River, which then of course we know it goes out to the sound. So we just want to make sure that we're doing what we legally can do.
It's worth noting that if you go back 5 years into the water reports from the water department, all they talk about is how important filtration is and how we need to protect this area. So it's time. We all are going to have descendants who really would like some potable water. Plus it's going to hit the pocketbook when we can't give water back to New London like we're supposed to. London's just going to raise the rates.
We can further discuss this under new business.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want me to read the zoning text, the proposed text zoning?
We could do that under new business.
Okay.
And speaking of, we'll move on to new business. We will have coming up the application of Edward M. Casella, attorney for Pelletier, is that how you pronounce it? Niantic CT LLC for proposed text amendment to include new section 12B SU-EMC, a floating special use district of the East Lyme zoning regulations. Mr. Mulholland, can you schedule that,
I will.
please?
Thank you.
Thank you. And so if 4 or more members want to continue discussing the subcommittee's work, now would be the time.
I'd like to long enough to just ask one question if I could.
Yeah.
Bill, best guess, if you don't have the numbers in your head, the property, the area that's proposed to be rezoned, how much of it is Stone's Ranch, Yale, and State Forest?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
It's got to be 60%, if not more.
I don't know what the
Yale is
percentage but
700.
I don't know what the percentage is, but in that binder there is the list and it's broken out by which parts of the state, but I don't know how big each parcel is. I just have several numbers.
This one.
Yes.
I mean, this would- Okay. Well, I mean, we're gonna, I suspect we'll get eventually to a public hearing, so I'm very interested in hearing from the unit owner, from the property owners who are gonna be affected. But it's not gonna be that many people. A huge piece of this is already open space in perpetuity between Yale, Stones Ranch, and the state forest.
Jess, how many properties do you recall?
If we're just at RU 80, it's just under 200.
200 properties, most of which are already developed. I'm thinking primarily about the undeveloped properties that, you know, someone might at some time in the future have an interest in. Yeah.
Are undeveloped.
All right. Well, they can speak for themselves when we get to public hearing. I was just curious about that because I know there's I mean, I've walked a lot of that, there's a lot of open space up there already.
Well, that's God's gift to us.
Do you want to read the text amendment?
Yeah, oh, yeah, you ready?
I'm curious, yeah.
Memo to East Lyme Zoning Commission from Zoning Commissioners Debbie Jett Harris and Nancy Kalal, Zoning Commission Subcommittee. Rezone RU 80 to zone to RU 200 zone, February 6, 2025. We are writing to propose the following zone change and text amendment to the Commission for consideration to move the proposal to public hearing. The subcommittees has spent numerous hours reviewing various materials and documents and is recommending that the zoning board adopt this proposal and move it to hearing. Therefore, it is specifically proposed to rezone all of the existing properties currently designated as RU 80 northerly of Boston Post Road and as delineated on the town zoning map to a new designation of RU 200. In addition, a new zoning district text amendment is necessary to accompany the proposed zone change. Attached, you will find the proposed text amendment creating the RU 200 zoning regulations. These regulations, as proposed, are essentially identical to the RU 80 regulations with the exemption of the lot size. In addition, you will also find a zoning map identifying the zone to be changed. So there's things that are on there when you look at the piece of paper that's out there. So if you're familiar with that zoning regulation, there's certain things that are allowable in that area with a special permit. It's greenhouse, Bill, you can help me on these. It's greenhouse, it's a antique store, store.
Shop,
Oh, a gift shop.
antique shop.
Antique shop, that's what it was. So there's about 5 things that are on there. We didn't touch those. Those can stay because those require a special permit. So those would have to come before zoning anyways. So we could further, evaluate them. The commission can have to evaluate them. And plus doing that too, we're not like trying to squelch like town anybody that wants to get a business going or whatever. So, those stayed in there. The only thing that we changed was the lot size. That was it.
Are there any comments, questions? Just a reminder, next meeting, Attorney Bleasdale will be here. I personally would like to read all this and maybe ask him questions that I would like answered before I voted on having the hearing, but that's just me. I don't know how.
I feel the same way. This is a lot to absorb, and I kind of feel like I need more time to look at it. And
Mike, what do you think? Are
Yeah.
you ready to vote tonight? Or?
No. No, I'm not.
I had a question, and I think it's a great idea. I think this is where we need to go. In case there's some pushback, one of the things I'm looking at this map, and there's 2 pools of water, one in the zone and one out, Powers Lake and then Patagonia Lake. And Patagonia Lake
It's already protected. Isn't it?
well, it's surrounded by a lot of houses, streets, and salt and things like that. Powers Lake isn't. But the wells are kind of around. We have a well near Powers Lake, and we have a well near the other ones.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Wait a minute.
We have the diagram, the map of all the wells, Jim. It's okay. We can give it to you.
one closer to?
Well 5. That's the one that's the most northerly
Where
well.
would that be near?
Let me get you the map.
Yeah.
Here it is, Nancy. Okay, so it sits like up in here somewhere. They're like the rest of them are clumped there, but we don't have any up there.
Well 5 is north of Route 1, which is essentially here. It's up here. There was a better map. I got more maps than Diane's.
We had the map in it might be in last week's minutes.
So, oh, well 5, is that the one by Flossy Drive, right there?
No, I don't, that doesn't sound familiar. No, I don't think so. I don't know, when you say street names, I don't know. I know, here it is, right here.
I guess I didn't.
Here it is.
I didn't really.
This is it right here, Jim. This will show you. Is that the same piece? Yeah, it's the same
I
one.
didn't see where
Yeah, but
the
I
walls
can't
are.
see where it is.
We have, it should be in the minutes. Nancy, we gave a map last meeting.
Right.
I think everyone appreciates all the work you've done.
Thank
And
you.
I do think we'll eventually get to a hearing. I think it would just be good for some of us to study this more, and maybe we can, if you have any questions, type them up and send them to Jessica. We could forward them to Attorney Bleasdale ahead of time. So we would feel, have everything answered.
So, yeah, I guess my question was, and I think maybe some people would, is on this map, where would the wells be?
We have the map. It was in, if you find the minutes to the last meeting, the map is in there. It says where they are. It's in your packet, Jim.
Okay.
The map was submitted last meeting. Does it have the, it should have, there's just a lot of it. I know we had them.
So many maps.
We'll get
We
it,
can-
we'll,
Someone can email that to
yeah.
you.
Well, I'll give it to Jess and she can, or Nancy will give it to Jess and she can email it to everyone. And if you have any more questions for us, so basically, do you guys have any more questions for Nancy and myself? Or is it just questions for Attorney Blaisdell?
I can't speak for everybody. I think once people study all this, they may have questions for both.
Okay, and also too, if you guys read the POCD, it's like 133 pages, it's a really good read, and there's so much It is actually, I didn't mind reading it. I read it like 5 times already, from cover to cover, with the zoning regulations too. So it's really, it's very interesting. It talks about where everything is, and it has diagrams, maps, and also too, read the, get your hands on the copy for the matrix, the POCD matrix, because that is really very interesting. It's unbelievable. I'd like to thank all the agencies and or the committees and the people for the town of East Lyme that put this all together, because it really is a fantastic tool, a guide that can help us and stuff, what we can do, what we should do, and it's like a vision for what we, to kind of keep us on track. And for those of you that don't know, the POCD has to be done once every 10 years, and if we don't, then we don't get funding and all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff they do to you. So, but it is very interesting, and everybody here should have a copy of this POCD and refer back and forth to it.
Is that available online like our?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, like our regs are? Yeah.
Yep.
And the last
Did
time
you
they
want to
did
see
it was
those
in
chapters again that
2023.
you said earlier? Or is it here?
Those will be in the minutes, Jim. Published.
The minutes, in the packet of the minutes, Jim. The map is in the packet of the minutes. I just have so many maps here right now.
Okay. So are we ready to go on to public delegations? If there is anyone here tonight? Oh, here, thank you. If you can give us your name and address, please.
I'm Christine Hollihan, and I live on Maple Tree Lane in East Lyme. You don't need the house number, do you?
Yes.
Oh, 5007 Maple Tree Lane. So you may remember seeing a zoning application on the agenda, such as today, that was withdrawn, referencing either 121 up or Patagonia or Patagonia Art Center.
We can't really speak to things that
not-
are not on the agenda.
I just wanted to...
That are on the agenda, sorry.
So I just wanted to let you all, I wanted to put a face here and say we're dedicated to working with the zoning committee, and we're open for any guidance from folks so we can move through this efficiently. And I wanted to offer myself and we're honored to have the opportunity to work here in East Lyme. And
We can't.
Thank you.
Yep.
We
Do you understand what we're saying when we say we can't talk to you? It's not that we don't want to.
Yes.
But, okay. I just
Yes.
didn't want you to think that. Because sometimes people don't understand. We would love to talk to you, but we
Right.
can't.
yes,
we look-
I hear you.
We look forward to seeing you.
Yes,
when you come back.
my intention of coming up here was to say we're not. I don't know how your commissioning body works. I've worked with like larger municipal commissioning bodies, but I wanted you all to know that we're not pulling our application and walking away. And Bill, thank you for mentioning that earlier. That it will be resubmitted, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be in the notes today.
We
so that
look
was my
forward
intention.
to it
Great.
coming back.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Mulholland.
We're steady. It's up and down this year, probably for a variety of reasons, but there's some things in the wings you'll be seeing in the near future.
Okay.
I have a question for Bill.
Good.
What is the stipulation on chickens in East Lyme? Because I've gotten a lot of questions. People want to have some chickens,
We
Bill.
have chickens, no roosters. Roosters
We can
gotta
have
be
chickens and no roosters,
You
Bill.
don't have any chickens, do you? Just checking while I'm here.
Well, they might be an emotional support house pet that wears a diaper. I don't know what to say.
That might be a different thing. This commission addressed the subject of chickens a few years ago. We do have regulations.
What is the
variety of
regulation?
regulations.
So I can tell
It depends
people.
on where you live and what zoning district you're in. If you wanna, do you have a zoning district? R10 perhaps? Are you 80? It's different, so if you look in the zoning regulations for each district, it will have a category, and it may or may not speak to the issue of chickens. And it also has conditions in section 25.5, which is your special permit section. If you're up in the RU 80, there's very little regulation. I think you have to keep them 100 feet from a property line.
What about Niantic?
Niantic Center, you probably have some issues. One of the rules, I think, in the RU 40 was you can have up to 6 hens, no roosters. You have to get a permit, and you have to provide a site plan, and there are conditions on the coop, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No free-range chickens permitted by your regulations.
Is this all chicken specific, Bill, or does it
Yes.
cover all
Well,
domestic fowl?
It's
It's all in here.
there's some fowl in there too, but it's mostly chicken.
People are crazy about chickens right now, Bill.
I know they are. They have.
I've been questioned in the grocery store.
That's why the commission adopted regulations, so you can have them. They're in your code book.
What about another bird who identifies as a chicken?
Since the chicken regs were adopted, have you had any complaints?
Yes,
Really?
Really?
absolutely.
Chickens are never happy.
How shall I say,
Oh my God.
some of our citizens have taken some liberties and brought in roosters, which some of their immediate neighbors, when you live in a subdivision, have taken issue with at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock. Whenever- when the sun
Roosters
comes
are
up.
10 years or so, right?
And so roosters are out
Yeah.
in your code book for that very
But they can
reason.
have hens.
You can have up to 6 hens.
Well, it's all in
depending
the
on where you live.
regulations.
And
Well,
some
no,
areas
it-
can't
it's-
have
it-
Half acre and zoning.
A half an acre, so not everybody in East Lyme can have chickens.
That's correct.
Right, well, that's what I wanted you to
It's just
clarify.
Did we-
I know that, but people that watch this,
No.
Yeah, not
to make
everybody
sure
can-
that we're not having chickens sprouting up everywhere.
I wanted to say something, I didn't
Of
hear
course,
you
the
say
cost of
any
eggs,
business.
I won't get into
I know, I mean, eggs are so expensive, I think we need to change that.
Dude, I think that was
I
the
didn't hear you
motion
say
behind
that,
why we
so I-
reviewed it, because a lot of people
We can't
helped
just bring it
and
up now.
It's
we
just a
really
quick
wanted
thing.
to allow it. We were looking for ways
They have a
to
shop.
allow it, but we had to have some rules because of,
That's correct.
we didn't want to have a coop right on somebody else's property line. Things like along that line.
Right, and you
But the goal
adopted some
really was-
regulations to allow people to have chickens, so you were proactive, but you adopted some common sense regulations, which are in the code book. And if anybody out there in TV land has any questions, please come in and see us.
Does anybody else have anything tonight?
Like a chicken, always in hot
Yeah,
water.
I just want to say again, I'm reminded, because this young lady sat here for a very, very long time, and if we had had the other thing on the agenda, she would have sat even longer, and I just want to talk about, can we just move the public delegations back to the beginning?
I personally am not for that.
I'm not either.
Some nights we've had 20, 30 people come to public delegations. We've also had applicants here that same night to do business, paying lawyers like $400 an hour
I get
that had
that.
to
I
sit
get
through
that,
all
too.
of that. And I don't know, I just think it's better this way, but that's just my
Yeah, well,
opinion.
what I notice is that we don't have as many people getting up and speaking, probably because they don't want to come out so late at night, that's all.
No,
Just-
that's not why. Not the feedback I've gotten. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback that people are happy that public delegations got moved.
Okay, I have not heard that.
The comments are few and far between, though, the public comments, and there's not stuff that's on the agenda. I like your thinking. I always thought it was nice if people come up, because sometimes people think differently. They can talk about stuff that's on the agenda, and we got to either wait until it comes up for. There's merit to it.
I mean, just so that they can do their thing and leave, and instead of sitting all night.
Right, and the people that are paying developers
Yes, I
and
heard
lawyers
that
and
already.
everybody, presenters, a lot of money, and sometimes one applicant, we can sit here for 2 hours for one applicant until they're finished. We just did that recently, not that long ago.
No, it's
Yeah,
been a
but
long
the
time
public
since we've
comments
had.
aren't 2 hours. The public comments are.
It depends.
It depends, sometimes they've gone very lengthy.
We've limited public comments to just a few minutes, so that wouldn't really be the case.
Well, it's something to think about.
It's just something I wanted to throw out there, it's just been on my mind, so.
Okay.
Thank you. Zoning board, Mr. Liska.
February 11th,
You're going, all right.
7 o'clock, right?
I believe so.
Yes.
And March 11th, we have Ms. Markovitz. We'll talk to her later. Mr. Peck, actually, we had a zoning person come to the short-term rental meeting last week. There will be the last public hearing next Monday at 7 o'clock. If you know anyone that has an opinion on that, it would be the time to come. So that's about all I have. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting?
Second?
A second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.